pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The Facilities Committee would like to add to tonight's agenda the purchase of the new utility vehicle for the grounds. Due to the urgency of making this purchase, we felt like we needed to put it to a vote tonight.
And so you wanted to add that as new business C?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
Is that a motion?
New business, or new business D, sorry.
D.
I would like to
new
make
business
that
D.
motion to add it.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, agenda approval.
Do we have to move to approve the agenda now? Yeah.
Yes.
Move to approve the agenda.
Second that
We
motion.
have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, we have a resolution to hold a closed meeting for negotiation strategy. Need a motion?
Oh, I'll make the motion.
I'll second it. And a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Now it's time for public comment. Consent items. I have a motion to approve the consent items.
Question on the contracts.
Yes.
Is that part of that one? Yeah. Now Christine Cruz down there for B through 3.
And she's birth to 3 and preschool special ed.
So does HV, I want the Valley pick that up?
We will be talking about that in discussion item A. It's a kind of a shared
Because I
position.
thought Scott handled the B3 for the district.
That changed, it's now Tracy
Yeah.
Lind.
Yeah,
Yes,
Tracy now.
yep, but it's B3 / preschool special ed, because our preschool special ed numbers are so large, it's more than one teacher can handle.
Okay,
Because it's beyond statute language limits.
okay.
Okay, do we have a motion?
No, we have not.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Okay, motion by Josh, second by Jean. Any discussion?
Well, just to clear, so is the contract for Ms. Cruz inclusive of both positions?
Yes.
I didn't.
Yes.
Okay.
Ms. Cruz's contract will do birth to 3 for the Houston resident children and preschool, special education. And then later on in the discussion, we'll talk about the fact that HVED wants to buy services. So it's a contract to purchase services. And so HVED will be paying for the birth to 3 services that Chrissy will be doing, but she will be our employee.
Okay, so I'm just,
That's what you're on down.
It's, just so you know, that most of the birth to 3 staff at HVED quit this summer.
yeah, I remember that, but I'm just looking at the hiring memos and the contracts for so is there a contract sheet for the preschool special ed, or does that not apply because it's a shared
It was supposed to
position?
be on there. If it's not, it will get amended.
We have it as a hiring memo.
I have hiring memo for her as birth to 3.
And there's no preschool.
That's what I meant. I don't see it, but that's what I'm asking for.
And if that is, we will amend that to, if she is also going to be working with the 3 and 4-year-old preschool.
Okay. So, as long as that's understood.
Oh, and this is, what you have in your packet is just, we already hired Chrissy as the preschool teacher the last time. This is just for the itinerant for July and August. That's what's in your packet. There,
Okay.
that clears that up.
Okay, that clarifies it.
Yep.
Okay,
Clear as mud, thank you.
anybody else? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Discussion items. Paid services agreement with Hiawatha Valley Education District.
And this, we kind of had this discussion before. It's, in working back and forth, right now, with the level of service we need, we're right at about the 0.3. And so with HVED, they allowed to say it's an average of 0.3, and they are said that every month we'll be looking at, Chrissy will be doing time cards for the amount of time she's spending with the birth to 3 children and their families. And if the contract needs to, if she's putting in more hours, the contract will need to get bumped up. But it's worded in a way that it is the average. So if we do need to amend this to actually address all the time she's spending with birth to 3. I've been talking to Deb Marcotte, and Deb's got a staffing ratio for the birth to 3 children as far as the number of times they're seen per month, except if we have any birth to 3 kiddos in foster care, the amount of time necessary for that special ed teacher almost doubles because of all the different agencies with whom she has to keep in contact. And so I need that mirrored in the contract as well.
And she goes to their house for that age, right?
You betcha. The other thing that we're doing with birth to 3, in computing it at first, I ended up even using Deb Marcotte's, I ended up with a 0.43 position, except now that they're doing speech online with the birth to 3 kiddos, they have said that Chrissy doesn't need to attend those sessions. And so by taking those children out of her, the need to travel to their homes for that, it brings her down to a 0.3. And so once again, I've said, we'll see how that online goes. And if the families need support, then that will be added to Chrissy's time and we'll amend the contract.
Who tracks the time?
Chrissy's keeping a time card, and also with those students, with the children that are on getting the speech language services, she's checking in with them, and if that's not going well, then we will address it right away.
And these kids are all flagged by the doctors, or how do they get in the program? I'm just curious. Have we been doing this program for a while? I assume.
Forever, yes.
Okay. We just don't really talk about it.
We know, typically we don't talk about it because it's been an HVED program, except as we started looking at what was coming into preschool, Rick and I were talking about the fact that we needed maybe a little firmer grasp just to help with that transition. And the summer school program this year has proven that this will help a great deal.
But she said for HFED, all the B3 ones resigned because they said their load was too heavy
Right.
on that, so we're
Well,
kind of looking into that.
It's important to get them help as soon as you can.
On this contract on page 3, section 4, there's an extra E in there.
Yeah, that's just a little typo.
Just a typo, it's up to an A and average,
Yes,
so.
that's the section that we were writing and rewriting, and I kept saying no. So then this is, yeah, we can,
Take that one A out of
Yeah.
it. Looks like you backed up and then put the A out.
it started out saying a maximum of 0.2, and I said she's over that already in one sign, so.
So this will be approved next meeting, or?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, high school summer handbook.
The first page has, where's the page of changes?
Right here.
Okay, there. Thank you. So there are just some minor changes. To that. Any questions on any of those?
I didn't get through all that, but just the, it's not there, I guess, but the taking home of the Chromebooks, that doesn't go in, we're not doing any changes that would need to be in the handbook.
No, they'll have a sheet of paper, and then the acceptable use policy will be with that, and so that's still policy, so I don't think we have. At some point, I suppose we could put it in,
And the
but we're still
insurance
working in that.
is separate, yeah,
Yep.
okay.
Big thing I needed to put in there is vaping in the e-cigarettes.
Yeah,
'cause
unfortunately.
it's a problem, major problem.
And I know we're talking about the high school handbook here. We've made a change, and is this for student, so it is student and parent. So information about the access for the student accounts, the free, no student passes, and does that policy has no, I mean, we have families who have high school students and middle school and elementary age.
The elementary handbook does talk about the fact that children need to be accompanied by their parent.
And there's no reason to put it in the high school handbook.
High school students can go without a parent and are free.
But that's a change from what we have, so.
We've never had anything about the passes and the cost of passes for games in the high school handbook.
It's just
I mean,
nice to have consistency in the handbooks, in the locals. That's fine, it's just something I noticed was in one and not the other.
Oh, not that we could put something in there, I guess I just never thought about, because we've never done before, but it doesn't mean we can't.
Are the kids all gonna get, in the past, we fill out a form and say, we need this many kids passes, and you kind of put it in, and you're gonna put money towards your school account and all this stuff. Is everybody gonna get a pass that's a Houston student, or they're just gonna walk in and say, I'm a high school student, and the person working will say, okay?
Yeah, if it's a problem, I'll be there. It's not like other
Okay.
people won't be there, and I think I know all the kids.
Yeah, I just didn't, there could be kids from Rushford or
Correct.
from
No, I agree-
Crescent
I'd
that just
agree with
say,
you.
I'm a high school student and walk right in, and
Yeah.
I just didn't know if we were gonna give everybody a pass and they had to be responsible for
I
it.
think the only time it comes up as a problem is I had trouble when I was taking tickets. If somebody came through and they graduated last year, I'm not on top of that. So if they would have walked through and said, I'm a student, to my knowledge, none of them did, but there's where the bigger problem comes, Other schools don't seem to do that. I don't know why.
Well, it wouldn't
You'd
hurt
think
to
they
make
would,
them a pass or give them a pass,
Yeah.
they could just carry.
It'd be nice, but would they carry it and show it to us?
I half the time I don't have my pass.
Yeah.
But now you're gonna have to.
Yeah, but there's a list.
There is a list, yeah, and you say your name and you're on.
Because I'd say anytime you're taking tickets, there's at least a half a dozen that come through and say, I don't have my pass.
Well, and if you don't know who they are, but if you have a
Yeah.
list to refer to,
Right.
you either know them, or somebody knows them at the
Yeah.
gate, or you look it up if you're trying to do due diligence.
Yeah.
And we can have a list of the students with their grades there at the ticket taker booth, and then you just say grade and name.
Something, I just think it's a valid, question, thinking about ticket taker people.
So if the ticket takers don't know the people,
Yeah.
Well, if there's a
Which-
list,
If there's a list by
they can ask
alphabetical
for, your name, and then they can
Okay.
alphabetically and find them on the
name,
list, or
rank, and
something.
serial number.
okay, is that
Kids
acceptable?
learn somebody else's name.
Anything else on the road handbook? Anything you wanna add, Todd?
No, I think those are valid points about the tickets, especially Lions Club, do they know who they are, some other school, or, a graduate if they don't know, and, just those pieces, yeah. we'll figure those things out this year, but how might happen.
98% of the students are honest.
And the other 3% are what?
They're Dunbar's kids. Oh.
Nice math.
Okay,
I'm glad you caught it.
elementary, handbooks.
I had a question on page 15 on the athletic event passes. In, I don't have the whole handbook here, but on page 15, it talks about the cost of the family pass is $90 for a traditional family, and that is the verbiage in the minutes from our May or June meeting, but I have a problem with,
And how about
the
two parent,
adjective.
can we change that to two parent?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it should be
it
done.
should be.
Or household.
Two
Some
parent,
people
single
prefer.
parent. And then it's not.
Yeah.
Or,
I just wanted to look at that.
Well,
We have
some
something,
might not be parents.
they might be
They're
guardians
Guardians
or
or grandparents
adults
that are
or,
taking care of the kid.
yeah,
child.
so
So
we have to
two-
figure out some way to,
two
I know we
parent or
discussed
guardian?
this before.
Right.
And this is tricky,
I think
Right.
I-
But no, they're gonna have to come in and purchase their pass, so, right?
Yes,
well, page 15, so it says here,
So
go a little further.
I think that it
So
should be.
$90 for a traditional family, that's the word I have a problem with, and then it does say,
60 for a single parent guardian family, or $90 for a two parent guardian family.
two adult, two guardian, two.
Two parents slash
respons-
guardian, I think that
Yeah,
probably
two
makes
parents
sense.
slash
That's
guardian,
consistent with a single then.
right,
Single parent guardian family, or the other one should say for a,
for
two
two
parent
parents
guardian
slash
family.
guardians.
You just wanna get rid of traditional.
Yeah. What?
Are we gonna allow divorced parents to be a family? Or should it say household?
That's where household fits in.
So, yeah, in separate households, if they're with one family and then with the other, you have two single parents.
So it should say,
Right?
instead of
Is that-
household,
Family passes will have the name and then S should be in parentheses, so it's name or names of the guardian in the household.
The whole family will be listed out on the back of these family passes. So a ticket taker will say, okay, this is Joyce and she has 3 children, it'll be listed on the pass. So if Fred shows up, he can't get in because he's not Joyce, is what we've been discussing, how we're gonna make it easier on ticket takers, and, so yeah, it should be spelled out who the family is and the students involved.
But
So,
what about children who are with one parent
Mm-hmm.
1 week and with the other parent who has just
But
a,
we're allowing those parents to purchase it together though, correct? So if you
no,
have,
that's what we're asking.
oh, but they could though, right? And they could, you know, let's just say Tom and
we
Joyce,
haven't talked about that yet, we haven't started selling them yet, so we're trying to, we
I
need
think you
this
should.
input.
I think we should, that's just my
Uh-huh.
personal.
They would pay the $90 pass and both parents would be listed with the students.
We don't wanna divide it up and we want to encourage, if there are parents this week with one parent and the other week with the other and.
So if the one parent has another family with children,
And you're right, Ron, that
Yep,
happens.
but in this case, like Ann said, it's gonna specify those kids, it's gonna specify this is the male and male or female, blah, 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 the 2 adults and the,
okay.
you know, so you're, and then if they have another step family, then they'd have to buy another pass with that family. But Tom would be on Joyce's pass with him, and if Tom and his new wife, they'd have their own pass if they wanted it, right? It's pretty
Well,
straightforward.
I just think we need to try to understand it and so
Right.
that everyone's doing it the same way.
Well, just as long, yeah, strike the traditional and say two adults.
But no more than 2 adults on any pass.
Right, no, you're not gonna have the boyfriend too,
Yeah,
so. You know,
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, now all that is out there, but then keep in mind that high school students aren't included in this, so it would be just sixth grade age and younger, where we would specify that. So, might change some of it, and we haven't discussed foster families yet, are they?
They're part of the
traditional?
household.
Okay.
Yeah, fosters,
Okay.
fosters are part of the household.
So,
Well, there's not that many, you know, and I know who the foster parents are, and if they come in and they have a family pass and they just happen to have a foster kid for a week, I'm gonna know that, and I'm gonna be at these games. We're gonna make it work for them. It's,
Yeah.
we're not that big that we can't make it work, and
No, and I appreciate that you do
Yeah.
know, that you do have such awareness, but not everyone does. And so, if you're hit by a bus, who else knows I mean, how can we have I mean.
But I think someone that's in charge will know that, and if someone comes in, someone's gonna know, oh yeah, they do foster family, if I'm not here, you know. Someone that's in charge, Quinn will be then at the games.
The other thing I wanted to thank, those who give the summary page as well as highlighting it, or in, like MNVA had the strikeout language and the replacement language. It makes it, when you have a 40-page handbook, it's really hard when we're reading it once a year. I mean, you can look at the sections you wanna look at, but it's quite nice that way, so thank you for presenting it that way. I appreciate it. It's more work for staff, but.
Any other thoughts on that one? Site crisis plans? MNVA? Thoughts, comments? High school and Summit? Elementary school, everybody got this down?
Well, I didn't look to see where the changes were, so are the changes in bold, or were there any
The
changes?
only changes that I made were of phone numbers that we updated and staffing that needed to be updated.
Okay,
So
And
those
then-
are the only changes that I made, so that, you know, really is not.
and that's the same with mine.
okay,
It was just updating the names and.
There weren't any major changes
there
to
were no
policy,
procedural changes.
and we did a major upgrade to the procedural changes due to policy changes a couple of years ago, so.
Okay. Set date and time for truth in taxation meeting.
We're going to be talking about December at this point, and I don't wanna hear how many shopping days there are until Christmas.
From now or then?
No, we typically have it the first Thursday in December,
That's okay.
so this is what's going to be on for approval at our next meeting. We would set it for December 5th at 6:30. And we'll make sure that all notifications are correct, going out to all agencies.
Is that okay with everybody? Any reason not to?
So it's when, December,
December 5th.
December?
First meeting in December.
when do we have the World's Best Workforce meeting?
That will be the last meeting in November.
Thursday.
What was the date? Sorry.
December 5th for the Truth and Taxation. The World's Best Workforce would be November, I don't, the third Thursday in the 21st. Thank you.
Okay.
No, it's the week before.
Okay.
Just briefly going back to the high school handbooks, you're saying that usually the student passes are not listed in there at all?
Right.
So we should probably just, even though the high school kids are free though, we should just list it like Michaeline had said about just consistency. Didn't you wanna do Just add it in there?
It can go in there for approval, that's just discussion,
I know, that's what I'm saying, so it's brought up, so that's in there. Is that an issue?
No, nothing's an issue.
I would just add in, you can strike the fact
That's
that
fine.
kids, or you
Yeah,
can
no,
list high school
we
kids
can
there.
find a spot to put it in, you know, the information, there's stuff on, you know, behavioral games, and I can just put in there, just, you know,
Okay.
students will get into these games free as long as they behave and support our team positively.
Nothing's an issue, that sounds like a nice summer attitude if I ever heard.
We didn't we beat that to a pulp, so.
Okay, moving to old business. Concession stand manager.
And I know I've got this on for approval, we talked about when the concession stand manager was approved last winter, that, and looking at, we would revisit it. And so I had it on there for revisiting it in July. The July meeting didn't happen, and we really need to have this so we can post and get it approved and hired for the first football game.
When we reviewed having this, there was some discussion about whether we were gonna break even or not on it. Can we get the financials at the next meeting? I mean, I guess I'm, well, we can approve it or whatever, but I'd like to see, you know, cause I think we were hoping we could cover a cost, but then a certain amount was gonna go to yearbook, and I could be making some of this stuff up, but there was just a question in our mind if it was gonna be costing us to have the concession stand, or if we were gonna be breaking even.
It's going to cost us to have the concession stand manager. However, the other thing we were looking at was not having a concession stand at all, because we couldn't find adults to work at it. And so we didn't, through the winter sports season, we did not have one issue. We never had to worry about the concession stand not functioning. In talking about this to Lisa before she left and to Todd, we feel that the concession stand manager probably needs to be looking at ordering the supplies as well, and because that's the person that's there, sees what's being purchased, and can maintain the supplies as well. And so that's an added duty that will go toward the concession stand manager, which frees up other people.
But we had some money that was going to groups.
And that's the profit from the concession stand. The profit from the concession stand goes to, the football and girls basketball profit goes to the junior class. The volleyball and boys basketball profit goes to yearbook.
So we aren't taking any of the profit of the sales and offsetting the cost.
Correct.
No,
The drawback too is if you don't have a manager of it, then you have different people in there every week, and it's a money position.
True, the one thing we're losing though
It's
is,
not good.
that class, they were then earning those items that we're now purchasing for them. By serving the time in there.
oh no, they're
I-
still, the kids are still working.
It's
The
just the
junior,
adults?
the junior class
Just
is
the
still
manager.
working. It's just the manager is the adult in there, so we don't have to try to find parents.
I'm fully where I gave everyone fit, so I realize the ease of, I realize that, I'm not ignorant to that, I just,
And this is something that, it was something that we paid for, I think it was $1,100 was
Yes.
paid every year up to 2013 or 2000.
When I was athletic director before, we had, a manager for it, and it used to be the booster club that would do it, and we paid the booster club money to run it, and, there was one or two people that would do it, and they would take care and manage it all. And then it just somehow it just faded away of paying a person, because we somehow managed and limped along, but then it was getting worse and worse to try to find parents. So, yeah, we had paid someone for a long time, so this isn't something that we haven't done, but Mimi, to your point, yeah, this is a budget item for a staff member that we're not getting any money back for it. So all the money that is earned in the concession stands goes to the kids in the kids programs, not to the manager at all.
And I mean, I'm all about giving money to the kids, but if we're making $5,000 in the concession stand, why can't we take $1,000 to pay for the staff and then take the rest of it and give it to the kids? I just don't, I need to see the financials. I have no idea how much we're making, and I would assume if we're staffing it well, that we would see the sales increase as well, I would hope. So I'd just like to see those financials. And
Are we breaking even on what we're purchasing with it?
Oh, the junior class and the yearbook are making money each, but you have to understand that the junior class, it's a misnomer to think that that money just goes to prom. The lion's share of that money goes to pay for graduation. So the senior class pays for their cap and gowns, the senior class pays for the programs
I have some financials.
that are really, if you go to typical graduation, you get the little 11.5 by 8 folded, and
Yep,
here
I
we get the
remember.
nice booklet. It pays for the roses, it pays for
So,
all of, so it,
Do you have a
They-
ballpark figure or?
Todd's
so
running to go get
concession
financials.
stand pricing generally goes up as inflation or as the cost of the item goes up?
Mhm.
I mean, so can we?
Is this anything that would, be on the appendix for, like, when we have staff that,
Oh, like an appendix B?
I don't know what the cost, what the pay on those is, but could, I mean,
Oh,
is it in line with that?
I
And
think
could
we'd
a-
be better off to just go this route.
But a staff member may wish to have that, and then it should be part of that document.
We're gonna pay.
Except with, if it's on appendix B, then it's, cost reference to the BA plus 0, salary table. And so, and it's on a percentage of that, so when that goes up, this position goes up.
We'd be better off with this.
I have some financials if you wanna know a little bit.
Please, thank you.
So, this would have been last year, the yearbook concession made about $2,700. So when the yearbook, did those, the junior class last year made about $1,800. In the winter, they make about, 1,000 or so.
That's it?
So, for that, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, that was the football, and then the winner was about $1,000 there. So concession, concession stand 1, 2, for 5,400 or so.
Okay.
In some years it's a lot more. Some years it's been $3,000 or so. Depends on how successful the team is. And in football, of course, if they're going deeper into playoffs, they could have 2 more home games.
And are
And the same thing with basketball.
Are we analyzing like what it was prior years just to make sure it's in line? And the other thing too is, I mean, and we make some changes, and are they good or bad changes? Like changing the pizzas out for frozen pizzas. Did we see our sales drop, or are we making more money? I mean, I'm just curious if we're, maybe we need to run it a little bit like a business and see, and just make sure that we are making money. We're forking out the cost here, and I would much prefer if it paid for the person running it and then the money went to the kids. But if you're telling me, hey, they only get 1,800 and they have to have 1,800, then that's different. If they're getting 1,800 and they really only needed 1,000, I don't know why we're not covering our costs, so.
No, every year it's kind of nip tuck to see if the seniors even have enough money in the kitty, which is why we keep talking to them about keeping costs low at prom.
And I'm
The
afraid
least amount, and that was back in 2015, that a senior class carried over, meaning that then it goes back into, we bring it back into another class, has been $652. Fiscal year 18, they had excess when the seniors graduated, and they can't keep that money, has to go back, down to another class, was $1,500. Year before that was $1,700.
I would
So
think
they're
if we
making
took
it to
that
cover
away
expenses.
from them, it would take some incentive away.
But
Well, they'd still be getting money, it's just we're
Well,
covering
right,
the
no,
cost.
I agree,
the
it's
manager.
just, and I'm not sure how sharp they'd be on that as far as watching that,
So,
but if they've got a payout.
I think that can be something that we wanna see this be, a big increase from the manager saying, we wanna make sure we're making more money, and then we can look at it, and maybe we look at, taking the manager's, fee out of what they're making, if that's what you wanna do, but I'd agree, I think that with a manager, we should be making more money.
Yeah,
There's more
and it should be the
consistency.
manager's job to make sure we're making more money,
Correct.
right? That's
I'd
their
agree with- I'd
little
agree fully with
business to
that.
manage, so,
Mhm.
just
I
my
know
2
we're
cents.
voting on this
No,
now.
agree.
yes,
A good manager should earn their
Okay,
salary.
Yeah.
so I make the motion to approve this for the upcoming year.
Second the motion?
Is this for the 1,200?
yes.
Yeah, we'll do the 1,200 and then we'll just revisit it again next year, can we?
We have a motion and a second.
I have a question, so how the money is, how the expense, is that something we talk about at a different meeting? Or this motion is saying, hey, we're just gonna pay for it completely?
This is
That's
it.
what we did the
This
last
year.
time too.
Yeah,
This year.
no, we'd be approving it right now maybe for this year.
We're approving paying a manager, basically. We
And
haven't really
distributing
talked
all
about
profit,
Where the money's coming from.
distributing all profit and not taking
We're
profit
eating
to
the
pay.
$1,200, like we ate I don't know if we actually approved 11, I think we approved 9 something.
No,
Nine.
that 9.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But they didn't have football last year, so.
right.
Or volleyball.
They got,
Yeah, and now, so we're starting early. I am totally with you as far as managing it as a business and that we should monitor it and expect increase. But at the same time, it's a small amount and it's gonna ease everyone right from the get-go rather than battling this in the winter like we did last year. So that's my thought process.
Anybody else?
And I don't wanna take from the students. Get what you're saying, maybe.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Carried. Okay, resolution for accepting gifts.
Okay, this is something that actually Michaeline helped out and found. I haven't heard from the golf outing.
Ron golfed in it.
Ron, you golfed in it?
Yeah,
Okay, did you hear how much money they made?
no,
Okay, nor did I. But before we accept the funds, we really need to,
I think they made it mostly on hole sponsors, though. Because $30 for 18 holes doesn't cover too much.
Well, what I found in doing a bit of research is that there is a statute that governs school districts' acceptance of funds or donations. And that's where I borrowed the resolution that had been passed by Kimball's school district. That's what's in your packet, is
Yeah.
just. And so that resolution states the statute and says that the board may receive for the benefit of the district donations or gifts for any proper purpose and may apply the same to the purpose designated. That was our issue, was can they designate what the money is going for? The board may act as a trustee, and there's another statute that addresses this, and so the board has to pass a resolution that states who's donating the gift and where it is being designated, for what purpose it's being designated, and that has to be passed by the board and be entered into the minutes, if I understand the statute correctly.
Yeah,
We also have, there is a policy that will be later on the agenda, policy 706 for gifts, and it's basically governed largely by statute, so we don't have that policy in place, but statute trumps policy anyway.
And so right now, I don't have a dollar amount to put in there, but when, in passing this resolution, we can say the half of the amount raised through the event.
So I would make a motion to, if everyone's okay with the wording that we have borrowed from our friendly neighborhood school district, that towards the end of it, it says, therefore be it resolved that the Board of Education gratefully accepts the following donations as identified. It says the donor is Rushford Lions Club together with Rushford Houston Knights of Columbus. The item is a certain dollar amount to be determined. The designated purpose is school lunch accounts and or the backpack food program. Make that motion.
Motion by Michaeline,
Second.
second by Jean. Any further discussion?
Let's go to good programs.
Yeah, for sure. We took second, by the way. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Sorry, I got off track there for a minute. I was excited.
Congratulations on placing second. So who was your foursome?
I knew you'd ask that. Lee Wendell and Matt
Okay,
and somebody else. It'll come to me.
okay.
I'm old.
That's yours.
You didn't get Tommy Ducks coming down from the cities to be your ringer? Okay.
Oh, yeah, I was thinking to myself. Okay, proceed on.
The big handbook.
Tom Stone.
Was
Oh,
it?
really?
How could I forget him?
Jeez. Good thing he's not here.
Now I can go on unencumbered.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah, jeepers. I gotta take some of that Prevagen or something.
Okay.
Okay, let's see. MNVA handbooks, MNVA high school, MNVA middle school, K5, and staff.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion by Michaeline,
Second.
second by Jean. Discussion?
I had contacted Angela regarding a minor change that I found, and she made that correction, and it's been uploaded, and I think she said there were a couple other minor changes that she had caught, so. On these handbooks, where do they reside? So should we want to go look at the full handbook online? Where does a
On
person find it?
each schools, so if you go to the Houston High School site, there is the handbook. It's a link on the left. So if we pull up the Houston.
So once these are approved and the changes are in, that's where they
Yep.
can be found. I've had parents contact me asking where are the handbooks, where they can look at sections of the handbook.
And if you see, it's
tiny. I see it, it says HHS handbook,
right,
but it says 1819 real.
well,
So
so
then it'll be
we
updated.
will,
Okay.
it hasn't been approved yet. So
Correct.
when it's approved,
Yep, it'll be updated.
it'll be updated.
Thank you.
And so handbooks are on each of the school sites.
Okay.
Okay, we have a motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, new business, paid lunch equity.
We look at the price for lunch in looking at, what we're charging.
We will.
Our breakfast prices are already, at or a little above, but our lunch prices, in looking at the Taher contract, we probably do need to bump lunch 10 cents. 10 cents is the most we can bump, but that would bring us to $2.40 at the elementary, which is still, we would be a little bit higher than Rushford Peterson, but we would still be even to the others.
Doesn't it tell us
Yep,
what we have to price it? I didn't think we had an option.
we could only move it up 10 cents, so $3
Oh, sorry.
there.
We're not required to, because we have a fund balance in our food service. So if you have a fund balance in your food service account, you don't have to do the paid lunch equity. But our balance has been going down every year, and so, Taher suggested that we increase. And so the 10 cents comes in where if you do paid lunch equity, you can't increase by more than 10 cents a meal in a year. So that's where we got the 10 cents from, so that we don't go over the 10 cents that paid lunch equity dictates, but we're still increasing.
Was there a year when we didn't have a fund balance and that's why we were required to add 10 cents? Cause I'm remembering what Mimi said, there was a year where we
No.
had to do 10 cents.
Last year was the first year that they didn't add it to the regulations, but they added a memo saying that you don't have to if you have, because school districts that had fund balances were still being required to increase their prices, and they didn't feel that was right. So then, the USDA came out with a kind of a temporary waiver for right now that you can follow.
So the 10 cents increase, does it stay with us or does it go to Taher? I can't remember how our contract is set up with them.
It'll cover our loss, because we'll experience a loss this year.
So it's gonna go into our that 10 cents is coming directly to us, it's not going to Taher. They still get the same amount no matter what we had set the price at.
But what percent are free lunches?
Pardon?
What percent are free lunches? Where because of the income of the student's parents?
I don't know, 20 something?
For the elementary, I think was at 38, and the high school was at, it was about 31%.
Do we get any
Numbers or
reimbursement for that?
Yeah.
We do get
more
reimbursement?
Yep.
100% or
For the free, yes.
we do?
We get
Okay.
more for a free and reduced lunch than we do for a paid lunch.
Okay.
We get USDA reimbursement for paid lunch also, but that along with the price that the family pays does not equal what we get.
Have we ever checked, are we similar to all these other districts as far as that? Is that,
It's the same for everybody.
right, but I mean the numbers?
Oh.
Is that similar to-
Well, Waynesboro seems to be really high, I'm not sure why, but,
Always been.
For what they charge for lunch?
No, they're percentages.
Oh.
Percentage of free lunch.
Oh, yeah, they're like 70%.
Well, I mean, all families are encouraged to apply, and then those that don't meet the guidelines are refused, and you pay for your lunch. But it is in the school's interest for them to apply. And if the district decides to fudge their numbers,
And is there a program where kindergartners get
Free breakfast, yes,
Is that a statewide thing? or-
yes.
how much over are we on breakfast right now? How much are we above the?
The breakfast, we're 10 cents ahead of Caledonia at the elementary, and at the high school, we're 25 cents ahead of Caledonia, and then
Do we have an outstanding balance though of amount owed
my family's.
by families? Is that very high or is that, it is?
it's coming down because
Is it?
we're
Okay.
So, my 2 cents or 10 cents, it looks like a really small number, but I'm sure that other parents can speak for this too. when you have 3 or 4 or 5 kids in the school, I mean, I'm $500-600 at a time goes into these accounts, and it's a lot of money. It adds up quickly, especially when you have kids that are sometimes running late. They'll grab breakfast, and now they've got breakfast, and it's like $5 a day almost for a high schooler.
That's always a concern, and, but we haven't increased prices for quite a while. And I guess, it's a board decision. If we experience a loss in food service, it'll just be more that has to come out of the general fund.
Because we haven't raised since 2016.
How much do we have left in our balance? Is it getting really
We're
low?
at 10,000.
And how much short were we?
The problem with the Tahoe contract is that I don't know where we're gonna end up until I get the very last bill. And so we can be going along just fine, and then we get the last bill, and we're at a loss. So I won't know where we're at this year until I get that.
Because they haven't, they're usually the last person, and I'm calling saying, we need this information, the auditor's breathing down our neck. So we don't, we would love to give you final dollars for the year, but we haven't gotten the final bill from Tahoe yet.
Can we ask Howard to be more fiscal responsible and even?
They're just very busy. I mean, they're the most popular food service company in school districts. And, right now, they're the only ones that will even do a bid for us, so.
Is their contract annual? Do we do, the Tahoe contract, is that every year? Do we do it every year?
Isn't it biannually?
Or is it every year?
Every 2 years?
2 more, it went up to 5 years.
It's a 5-year.
We just had it though,
Yeah,
wasn't that long
so
ago?
so the price that they're contracting with us, we know that till when? When's the contract up again?
I don't have it off the top of my head.
I gotta believe that moves
2
annually.
years left or 1 year, I can't.
Or do they have an annual increase on it?
I would think so, just due to the fact of the cost of.
Which is why the fund balance is going down. Now it's gone down
And
every.
a lot of it, it's not I don't think it's staffing, I think it's food prices, because with the new, regulations from USDA, we have to do everything, healthy, and not that that's a bad thing, but that's always more expensive, and so.
Or we'll have to have an FFA or a science room with a greenhouse on it and grow some of our own food.
If we can grow our own blueberries, that would really help the cost, because blueberries are expensive and they have to serve them so many times a month.
I've always enjoyed the kiwi at the elementary school. It's the only time of year I get it. Anyway, Mimi, are you suggesting that we stand firm another year and see how it looks, and then just to air it out here?
Well, you're not suggesting we raise breakfast prices,
No.
right?
No.
Just lunch?
No, just.
I mean, I can see either way. I mean, I'd like to keep it reasonable for the families, but I
And
can
no-
see raising 10
it all-
cents is not out of,
It all comes out of the same fund, so if whatever you would deduct breakfast to level that out, you would then need to add additional to high school, or lunch, excuse me.
Yeah.
So we would just need to be raising lunch.
Right.
Breakfast will ride out.
Is there any,
Yeah,
so
I'm not
what-
sure how high school got so out of whack on their breakfast. I
Yep.
remember that.
So how much did we, how much,
Breakfast, we haven't increased for longer than.
how much did we lose last year then? You said we have about 10K in the kitty.
We have 10,000.
Yes, and how much did we
at the end
lose
of
last year?
And we won't know how this year is until we get that final bill, so.
Oh gee, we still haven't got that?
No, that's.
Cause that would be good to know, like how much room we have if we let this table for one more year and see.
how much did we lose last year?
But we don't,
Remember?
we don't,
How much
oh
were we
yeah,
short?
how much was the year before?
In 2000, it would have been 2018.
Mhm.
I thought that we were
Six in my
making-
head, I'm not sure.
I thought we were making money on it when I
We
looked
were
at
a couple years ago.
Right,
and
that's why we
At the
haven't had to
audit.
really change it,
I
but
don't
now,
know.
but cost
I
of
don't
food,
know.
and we haven't changed the prices since 2016, so in 16, 17, it was still okay. 17, 18, we started losing, but it wasn't, we still had the fund balance. So we did 18, 19 without thinking we needed to do something, but we can't just keep.
Do we see a scenario where we would need that fund balance? This fund balance is only for the lunch program, so, do we have,
If we have a loss, it has to be covered by general fund.
okay, right.
So,
Do we see a scenario though that we could exceed the 10,000 this year if we table it for 1 year?
if it gets us through this next year,
Oh, I see, we'll have this year and next year.
Right.
Characteristically, if you raise the price too, you're gonna have a little more incidence of people not paying. You know, that tends to happen.
Is it, are we required to have a per lunch fee? Or could we do something, are any school districts doing something like we do with the athletic, so the, you know, the cost? It's like, if you have this many.
There was one district that does not charge anything for lunch.
No, but I'm saying,
A meal
you know,
plan?
a meal plan
More
for
college,
if you have 1, 2, I don't know, you know, 3 kids
any
or
over
4
3 are
kids in the
free.
family. Whatever, capping the cost of lunch in families that have a number
Is
of
that
students.
retroactive?
Huh?
I said, is that retroactive?
I don't know, I mean, I think you make a valid point, it adds up. And
Because
it's,
when I first got my job here, I don't really mind saying it, when I first got my job here, my children qualified for free and reduced price lunch considering my income. And so I worked here for 4 years before I finally made enough where they didn't qualify. And that first year where they didn't qualify and I got hit with the lunch bills, it was like, whoa.
I think, I mean, do you guys know off the top of your head how much it is for school lunch for a year for a kid?
Well,
Well,
take 255 and multiply it by 170.
you're saying this, if you raise it 10 cents and if all the kids were doing it, you know, just in the high school, it'd be about $3,500. That's if all the kids eat every single day.
It's $461 for a high school kid, if they ate every day, for just lunch.
Which, and I don't know if you could put a bag lunch together for that amount.
Yeah, no, I think that
Not for that.
I
There's no
tried.
where I stand with this personally is that if we are confident that we will not, that we can cover the cost, then we could table it and see. And then if we feel we do not wanna lose on this, since we are giving to other areas, that's my personal feeling. I know that that's a gray area, cause we don't know the numbers yet for this past year. When do those come in, Gwen?
When the bills come in,
Yeah, the final bill from
I
last year.
get sick of hearing from me.
Wow.
We lost 10,000 last year.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah, and that's about what we have in our fund balance.
Um,
And so that's why we're bringing it to you, because we think it's going to totally deplete it this year.
So did I hear that correct though? If the most you can raise it is 10 cents?
Yes,
So in other words, next year, if you say we want 20 cents, you can't do 20 cents.
That's a great point. That's a great point.
So each year you don't raise it, you get a little further behind.
And I do think food prices have went up in the last couple of years,
Yes.
quite a bit.
They'll go up more too.
That was a great point though. If you're handcuffed to 10. Alright, well, I'm not gonna make the motion, but I'll vote.
Is there a motion?
I move that we raise food prices 10 cents in the,
For lunch.
for the lunch. Yeah, I was gonna say
Okay,
And I
for the
second it.
lunches.
now we have a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
When I had school lunches, I always used to have the pail, and they used to have the old black pail. Now they came out with nice little pails.
That was pretty strong.
But they don't even sell those in the store anymore.
I think my school lunch was 35 cents.
it was D, so it's after, so it's 990.
Okay, approval of second quarter board pays. I think everybody looked at that.
Make the motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Josh, second by Mimi. Discussion, corrections. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, carried. Somebody thought it was funny.
Sorry.
Okay, policies for first reading.
Policy 616. It seems like there's a lot of goals in there as well as policies. I'm not sure if I'm reading that right or not.
They have to do with the district advisory committee meetings and reporting to the board
Yes,
and world's best workforce.
yes. So that's,
But I mean, where those in terms of it's then the goal is the
we're following this, the guidelines
Is that
of
all?
Minnesota School Board Association.
okay,
Yeah.
because to me it looked like more than a policy. It looked like a policy plus goals on that one.
But
That's the way they have it.
The question I had on that one as well, Jean, was, towards the end of the policy where it talks about the board will meet to discuss the curriculum and the review cycle and the goals. Is that part of a regular board meeting, or is that the, World's Best Workforce Report? What is that?
That's typically the World's Best Workforce Report.
Okay, so that's
That's-
covered in that.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
why I asked when we were having it.
Yeah.
That's in November. So,
Okay,
And the curriculum review cycle is in there, and double check that the curriculum review cycle matches what's in statute as far as the updating of standards.
I don't think there were any other significant changes in the first 6 policies. There were relatively few verbiage changes. Policy, or number 7, policy 706 has not been adopted.
And so
That's a
that'll
new
take us
policy.
that takes 3 readings
Right.
because it's a brand new. So, for 1 through 6 will be on for policy for second reading, as will 7, but we cannot approve policy 7 at the next meeting. Policy 7 will be in the September meeting, reading for 3rd. Okay.
announcements?
Nope,
No, here we
Oh,
go.
yeah.
We got this.
Utility vehicle.
Oh, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
Sorry, I was all ready to
I
cue
didn't
that.
write yours down. I wrote
So,
it on the screen. but
I'll
it didn't
address
show.
it. As a member of the facilities committee, it came to light in tonight's meeting that we need to move on the purchase of this new utility vehicle, multi-purpose. Just speaking on behalf, it sounds like all staff using, and those have shopped extensively at the different brands and the options that we needed or asking for it. So what they have found is a used Bobcat is the brand on it. 2013, but it's very low hours. It was minimally used, 55 hours. Has all the attachments we need for clearing snow and the general use that we got out of the Gator, which we will be so blessed if it lasts half of the life of the Gator. It is so yeah, we're looking at 21,600. And then, well, new, we're gonna be close to doubling that, but you'd be in excess. And we found out in our last facilities one, they presented us with a John Deere option, and that was not in the ballpark, cost-wise or options-wise.
because it was 31,000 for the vehicle itself, and then they were charging, I think it was 3,000 for the brush, and for the snow plow was another, or the brush was 35, the plow was 3, and so then you're getting it close to the 40,000, and here we've got everything for the 21.
Yeah, because if you look at the additions that you now have for it, since it does meet what their needs are, if you were to go out and purchase those separately, they're extremely costly. I own a Bobcat myself, they're very good. Plus you have a dealer in the area to work on it if you have to. That's another factor that's important.
And this is a used machine and, off of a dealer, and this was guaranteed for until August sixth. So that's why we needed to, rather than put it on the agenda for the next meeting, we wanted to move on. And the staff is adamant about this as the V1. So, am I speaking correctly?
Well, it has everything they need and the cost we'd like.
Did Tom have a chance to review it at all?
No, now that is a very good point. Tom was not able to attend tonight.
Okay.
And he did have a lot of input in
Yeah.
the initial shopping for this. Yeah, it's a very good point.
But I also know that,
Speaking for him, it would be in the price range and it has the options. That was his main thing
Okay.
was that first initial options that were presented were not in the running.
Well, he was probably involved to the point of them,
he was,
Advising.
right, he was
Yeah.
involved to the point where Andy started broadening the scope of what he was looking at
Okay.
and the type. So.
Okay.
And this, as you can see, we got this on, July 30th. So, we just got the bid on Tuesday and put it into the facility, bucket for anybody on facility to look at right away.
Seems a very reasonable price for one that few hours and everything else, even though it is a little older, but, it's not been used, I mean, to speak of. So
It's
I
sitting in the
move
shed.
to approve it at this time so that we don't lose it.
Okay, so Jean
If we got
approved.
anything else, it costs us a lot more.
Do we have a motion?
I think Jean just
Gene
did.
made the
Motion.
motion.
Do we have a second?
I second it.
Okay, that's right. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
So what they gonna do with the old gator?
Oh, it's done.
It's
I mean,
about done the way
They're
it
not gonna
is.
leave it on Marley and Chelsea's property, are they?
Put the rattlesnakes in it, okay.
Okay,
Okay, announcements.
important events, Houston Elementary School is having its back to school night on August 28th, and that's from 5 until 7. And Houston High School will have their back to school night August 28th at 6 to 8. So those are some important events coming up. August 12th, the science rooms should be done and we can take the building permit out of the window. That's my important thing.
What about August 8th?
What?
August 8th, our all activities meeting.
Oh, August 8th, thank you. All activities meeting for all 7th through 12th graders and their parents.
The in-service, staff in-service.
Oh, staff in service, we did need to talk about on the 26th, the back to school. Did you want me to get a hold of, did you as a board want to do something together, or did you want me to get a hold of Smoke and Chrome as we did last year for the Monday night meal? I talked about this on Monday and said I would be asking. Thank you for that.
Ron, you're busy, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Ron's house is already taken by Apollo Music.
Did Smoke and Chrome work good? I mean, is it positive?
I think so. Smoke and Chrome is always good.
Right, so, seems awful today.
I just need a little direction.
I'm in favor of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think if the staff, is in town and appreciates it and will come, it was always getting the numbers and getting the head count.
We pay by plate then? or-
Yes.
So do you get a good head count? And, I mean, that's a concern when you're, right?
We try, and we didn't have as many as we thought we were going to have, but there's also no meal here for the on-site staff on Wednesday or Thursday, so we just had leftovers in both of the long ones.
So he gives you the leftovers when you're done. Well, that's good.
However he did it last year, I feel like I was clueless, I don't remember it, so
Okay.
I'm fine, if it went fine.
I don't
And,
remember.
because no one's stepping up to volunteer to do anything else, that's what I'm asking.
Right,
Well, it's a lot of work for us to do.
Yeah.
I mean,
you think?
I'm just saying.
Yeah, okay.
And you're moving another child.
And I
this
have
year.
I'm moving a child the day before that, given it's closer, but still.
Okay, sounds exciting.
Okay,
Alright,
HVAD, I had a superintendent's meeting at HVAD and we had representatives from Kraus, Anderson and Eilers there to talk about building options and financing for it. We are going to, right now, we're in the process of planning a meeting. And it's going to be a meeting not only for superintendents, but once again, we are being asked to bring 1, 2, or 3 board members to the meeting, just so everybody can hear the options and why particular options seem, even though they're more expensive, seem better.
When
Right
is that?
now,
When is that? Done.
I wish I could tell you. It's in the process of being scheduled. And it's just every single school board from all 13 member schools have to be on board. If one school board votes it down, the whole thing goes down.
Right.
And I'm not sure that we have all the boards. There's already one superintendent that doesn't think that the board in that district will approve it, so we need to have, and we can't continue kicking the can down the road, just because the buildings that HVAC does own need definite work.
Right here.
The Kellogg building is in need of major upgrades, just to keep functioning. Because it's like a roof. Roofs are kind of important. So there's that, and then facilities committee, Josh?
I can address it. We just went over the annual projects, and you know, we've gotten a lot of big things accomplished in the past couple of years, and we have some projected dates. There are some that are gonna be delayed until next year, but we do see the end is near. Due to costs, some like, not all the sidewalk along the elementary school will be replaced before this year. We'll have to piecemeal it out between 2 years, so. Also, yeah, and then just upon construction, they discovered some other issues, but it's being worked out. The high school baseball field, and also extend a big thank you to Steve Walters and the C team.
Mhm.
They volunteered their time and effort in refurbishing the dugouts and the concession stand, announcers booth. There's more in the future, but just a big thank you to him and his team. Signage update, the awning is due in October. We realize that that's been continually delayed, but that is our tentative new date for install. And then we discussed elementary bathrooms. There's a plan in place to replace, and Corinne has worked with UNESCO, mapping out the boys' room being redone next year, and then the following, we're talking next year, and then the following year will be the girls.
No.
Right?
2 years,
Yeah.
2 years.
Oh, well, yeah, not this summer, but 2 years?
2022.
Oh, shoot, okay, I mean, so there's a plan in place. Other than that, we already addressed the utility vehicle.
Over at the elementary school, that looks like they finished up.
Digging and putting in the pipe.
Was that sewer and water?
That was just the drainage from the gym, that we found out was going nowhere. It was draining, there's pipes inside the wall, and it was draining into
A space.
which is why we ended up with a sinkhole right next to the building. because it was draining, and
So this is just strictly a drain for that,
it's to
Into
get the
the-
water away
To
from,
the storm.
to the storm sewer.
to the storm sewer, yes.
Is there still gonna be a upgrade to the gym?
The,
Steps?
Chris is waiting because he's going to have to replace, part of the sidewalk had to get broken out. So, Chris Nelson is working on the ramp, and he's gonna replace that sidewalk at the same time. So we just have to pay for one load of concrete. But that ramp, the handicapped accessible ramp, Chris went through it with Rick and with me as far as what he was doing, and, it will be, he's going to start that next Monday. So, because we didn't want anything started, there's an owl thing going on there this weekend, so we'll start it on Monday after the owl thing.
Okay.
I should probably know specifically what it is instead of calling it the owl thing.
International Owl
International.
Appreciation Day.
It's International Owl Appreciation Day.
Yeah,
Saturday, oh, yeah, Saturday.
and they appreciate the use of the facility, I'm sure.
Josh, the awning, where is that awning going again?
That's right out here, the
Oh.
district was.
To hang it, they had to change it.
Yeah, I just couldn't remember where it was going.
Yeah, they just had to
That's-
rework it and so it was delayed or else it would have been installed.
Okay,
Was
so
it-
October is
The
anticipated.
tentative.
Anything else? We have a motion to go into closed session.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And at the end, we'll return to the open meeting and adjourn, no other reports, right?
We will be adjourning from the